Welcome to Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. I'm Kenzie and I'm so excited to be here with you today to share a complete overview of this beautiful moderate resort at Walt Disney World. People either love or hate this resort. There's not that many people in between. I think it's safe to say that this is the most controversial resort at Walt Disney World, and today I'm going to share all the reasons of why that is. I'm also going to share all the information you need to know so you can decide if this resort is right for you and your family for your next trip to Walt Disney World. We have a lot to cover, so let's get this magic started. The theming of Caribbean Beach Resort is really where it shines. It is themed after the Caribbean islands, and it has vibrant colors, lush landscaping, and sandy beaches throughout. It really gives you all of those tropical vibes. It's the perfect place to kick up your feet in a swaying hammock as all of your worries melt away. This resort is massive. It has 1,536 rooms spread across 24 different buildings, but that's not even the most shocking part. The most shocking part is that the resort spans over 200 acres. Yes, you heard that right, over 200 acres. It truly is massive. Even the lake at the center of the resort, called Barefoot Bay, spans over 45 acres alone. This is one of the largest resorts at Walt Disney World in terms of acreage, so if you are looking for a smaller, more compact resort, this is definitely not the resort for you. There are 5 different sections of this resort where the rooms are located, and each of the 5 sections are named after one of the islands in the Caribbean. Each section of the resort has 2-story buildings, but they are each uniquely painted a different color to help them stand out. I am going to walk you through each of the sections available at this resort so that you can see the differences and so that you can get an overall feel for the size and the layout of this massive resort. You are definitely going to want to subscribe because in my next video, I am going to be sharing a more detailed overview of each of the sections and why you might want to consider requesting a room in one of the sections, the buildings, or even a specific room. This is so valuable, especially for this resort due to the size. One of the reasons it ends up on so many people's hate lists is because they end up in a section or a building that is super far away from everything, and I don't want that to be you. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that magical video. All right, it is time to officially kickstart our magical tour of this resort. Can you guess how many steps I am going to take today as we tour this massive resort? Drop your guesses in the comments below and we'll see who gets the closest. I also would like to mention that if I look like I'm dying or that I'm out of breath, it's because the feels like temperature is over 105 degrees today. So I am slowly dying, but it's worth it for you because I know this video is important. All right, let's kickstart this magical tour.
Welcome to Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort.
We are kicking off our tour by talking about the Caribbean Beach Skyliner station, which is located at this resort, and it's currently behind me for reference. For those that are unaware, Disney's Skyliner system is their gondola transportation system, and it is a huge advantage to stay at a resort that is along Disney's Skyliner system because you can get easy access to some of the theme parks as well as some of the resorts along Disney's Skyliner system. The Caribbean Beach Skyliner station is considered the hub, also known as the transfer station for Disney's Skyliner system. There are 3 different lines available that you can take to different places. One will take you directly to Disney's Pop Century Resort and Disney's Art of Animation Resort. Another will take you directly to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And a third will take you directly to Disney's Riviera Resort, where you can then transfer and board another Skyliner that will take you directly to Epcot. The Epcot station has many advantages to it. Not only do you get easy access to Epcot, but you also get access to Disney's Boardwalk area, which encompasses several other deluxe resorts, which means that there are several amazing dining options available for you in that area, as well as other live entertainment options. So it is a huge advantage to be able to stay at a resort along Disney's Skyliner system. There is also a Joffrey's coffee and tea stand at the Caribbean Beach Skyliner station, which is a huge pro because they have everything you need in order to fit those caffeine needs, such as coffee, tea, and other specialty drinks, and they even have other special sweet treats as well. So it's a huge advantage to be able to grab one on the go whenever you need it, but especially in the morning when you are kickstarting your magical day. We are on our way now to the first section that has rooms, and I figured now would be a great time to bring up our first controversy. Is it pronounced Caribbean or Caribbean? Honestly, I use both. I don't know if there's a correct pronunciation. There probably is, but let me know how you pronounce it in the comments below. We are officially in the Jamaica section of the resort. You know you are in the Jamaica section when you look at the buildings, and they are painted yellow with blue roofs. They are absolutely beautiful. And as far as this section is concerned, all the buildings that start with 4 are in this section. So buildings 41 through 46. The biggest pro of this section is it is super close to the Caribbean Beach Skyliner. It is merely just steps away, so that is absolutely fantastic and a huge pro of this section. Every section at Caribbean Beach Resort has their own white sandy beach, and they are all so beautiful. They all have hammocks you can sway in under palm trees and lounge chairs you can lounge in, and they are just perfect places to relax and unwind and have some zen time. One important thing to note though is you cannot go swimming at these beaches. It's all netted and blocked off by Disney for a reason, and there are warnings warning you of alligators and snakes potentially being in the area because it is Florida after all. So it's just an important note that you can't swim in the lakes, but you can relax on the beach. As you can see, the beach in the Jamaica section is very large, and it's one of the larger beaches in all of the sections at Caribbean Beach Resort, and it's the perfect place to let your worries melt away. Caribbean Beach Resort has 6 pools. Yes, I did just say 6. It's one of the biggest advantages of staying at this resort. You are never too far away from a pool, no matter which section you are staying in. Of course, only one of those pools is considered the premier pool, and that pool has a reputation amongst Disney fans for being one of the best pools in all of Walt Disney World. So I'm really excited to show you that pool once we get over to the section that it's located in. For each of the sections of the resort, they have something called a leisure pool. So those are the other 5 pools you can find at this resort. Leisure pools are really nothing fancy. They're kind of just basic pools. There are no water slides or whirlpools or any kind of additional add-ons, but they are a great place to cool down and to unwind because they are very quiet. Disney does not play any music at these pools, and there are no cast members playing games with kids at these pools, so you don't have that noise either. And Disney highly encourages for people to keep noise to a minimum in these pools, so splashing and loud noises are strongly discouraged. Of course, they can happen, but they are strongly discouraged. So if you are looking for a place to zen out and unwind and cool off in a pool, then one of the leisure pools is a great place to do that. Here is the Jamaica Leisure Pool. As you can see, there's nothing particularly fancy about it, but it is a great spot to cool off and to relax. Every section of this resort has its own bus station. So of course, the Jamaica section is no exception, and it has a bus station as well. We are on our way to the next section of this resort now. But while we're on our way, I wanted to mention something about this walking path that I'm currently walking on. It's actually considered a running path at this resort. So if you're one of those crazy people whom I admire and love that likes to run and get extra steps on your Disney vacation, then you're in luck because there is a 2K running/walking trail at this resort, and honestly you could make it longer if you wanted to because this resort is so massive. Welcome to the Aruba section of this resort. You will know you have made it to the Aruba section when you see the beautiful pink buildings with the teal roofs. All of the buildings that start with 5 are located in this section, so buildings 51 through 56 are located right here. The Aruba section has its own leisure pool, just like the Jamaica section. And again, it's nothing overly fancy, but it is a great spot to cool down and to relax. Another thing I wanted to mention about the leisure pools at this resort is that they have laundry facilities located right in the section where the pool is. So if you need to or want to do laundry on your trip, that's where you can find all of the laundry at this resort. The Aruba section also has its own beach, but as you can see, it's definitely on the smaller side, and it's also directly underneath the Skyliner, so you can kind of hear the audio on loop as well as the Skyliners going by. So overall, I would say it's probably not one of the more relaxing beaches at Caribbean Beach Resort, but you could argue that it is because of the nostalgia if you've been here before and you like the sound of the Skyliner soaring on by. You can also see another resort from this section. That is Disney's Riviera Resort, which is one of my all-time favorite resorts at Walt Disney World. It is a deluxe property and it has so much to offer, and the fact that you are in such close proximity to Disney's Riviera Resort in this section brings a ton of extra pros to staying in the Aruba section. The first huge pro is you are located super close to Riviera's Skyliner station, which is a completely separate station than the Caribbean Beach Resort Skyliner station. So it will be much faster to walk to this Skyliner station versus the other one if you are close by. Another huge pro is you are in close proximity to some amazing dining options, some of the best in all of Walt Disney World, if you ask me. There is Topolino's, which is a character meal for breakfast that I highly recommend. It's one of my favorites. And then at dinner, it is a signature dining experience. It's a little fancier, but the food is so good. It's handmade pasta and imported oils and all of the lovely things that most people's hearts desire. There's also Primo Piatto, which is my favorite place for quick service in all of Walt Disney World, and a highly underrated pool bar where you can get drinks and some fantastic food as well. They also have their own coffee bar, which is wonderful if you are looking for a little pick-me-up during your stay. Just like all of the other sections, there is a bus stop located in the Aruba section for Caribbean Beach. But one of the biggest pros of staying in the Aruba section is you can walk to Disney's Riviera Resort and you can utilize their buses instead. One of the biggest cons of staying at Caribbean Beach Resort is the bus situation. There is a huge internal bus loop and it can take an extremely long time to get to the theme parks and to Disney Springs utilizing the buses from Caribbean Beach Resort. We are going to talk about this in more detail later, but for the meantime, just know it's a huge pro to be able to walk to Disney's Riviera Resort and utilize their buses because you can get to the parks and to Disney Springs much faster. It's also important to note that there are no formal rules against this or anything like that, like you're not breaking a rule by doing this. Anyone is allowed to do it, so feel free to do so if you are staying in the Aruba section. Another huge pro to staying in the Aruba section or the Jamaica section is there is a bridge in between the two sections that will take you over to Old Port Royale. That is where most of the resort's main amenities are, and so it can help save some steps and get you there quicker than other sections of the resort. So that part is really nice and definitely a huge pro. The Skyliner station at Disney's Riviera Resort works a little bit differently than the hub at Caribbean Beach Resort. At this Skyliner station, you will either need to board a Skyliner to go directly to Epcot in the boardwalk area, or you need to board one to go back to the Caribbean Beach hub station. And then once you're at that station, you can either board one to go to Disney's Pop Century Resort and Disney's Art of Animation Resort, or one to go directly to Disney's Hollywood Studios. It is worth mentioning that transferring is not a big deal. It typically only takes a couple of seconds, and at the very worst, it would be a couple of minutes if it was during a peak time in the morning, but just something to keep in mind if you are boarding at this Skyliner station instead of at the hub. I will mention one consideration of the Skyliner is the lines can get extremely long at the end of the night, but that can happen with really any form of Disney transportation. So I wouldn't say that it's like a deal breaker or anything like that, but just set your expectations appropriately at the end of the night if you're leaving with everybody else. Welcome to the Martinique section of Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. You will know you have made it to this section when you see the beautiful blue buildings with the red roofs. There are so many advantages to staying in this section. The first is its location. It is located extremely close to Old Port Royale, where most of the resort's main amenities are, and I'm going to be showing you that section after this section, so get excited for that. The other pro is it's also located super close to Disney's Riviera Resort. Because it is located so close to Disney's Riviera Resort, you have all of the same pros as you did in the Aruba section. You can walk over to the Riviera and you can take advantage of their dining and their buses, as well as the Riviera Skyliner station. I will mention that this section is on the other side of Disney's Riviera Resort, which means you will have to walk through Disney's Riviera Resort to get to the Skyliner, so it is further away than the Aruba section. However, Disney's Riviera Resort is pretty small in the grand scheme of things, and the walk isn't too terrible, but I do know that every step matters when you are on a trip to Walt Disney World, especially after several long park days, so I did want to mention this fact to you. This section has its own leisure pool named the Martinique Leisure Pool. Again, nothing too fancy, but it is a nice place to relax and cool off. And there are also laundry services at this pool as well. There is also a bus station located in this section of the resort if you prefer to use the Caribbean beach buses over the Riviera buses. And one pro tip I wanted to share is to definitely double check the resort map depending on what building you're staying in and what room you're staying in, because it's possible you might be closer to another section's bus stop than the one you're staying in, and it could save you a lot of steps. This resort is so big and so spread out, and there are so many buildings that you might easily just be closer to another section, so definitely double check after you get your room assignment. Another thing that I love about this section is how quiet it is. It is so peaceful over here, and there aren't a lot of noises happening, which is really nice if you are looking for a section with a little bit more of a peaceful and quiet vibe to it. The other sections we have visited so far in this video have definitely had a lot more noise going on, a lot more liveliness going on, just because of where they are located. So if peace and quiet is important to you, this is a great section to consider. The beach in this section is definitely a little bit smaller than some of the other beaches in other sections, but it does have a volleyball net. So if you'd like to play volleyball, all you have to do is go up to a recreation cast member and ask for one, and you can play a game of volleyball. We haven't seen all of the sections with rooms yet, but we have made it to Old Port Royale. It's the next stop on the map. And I know you've all been eagerly awaiting this section so that you can see more of the resort's amenities. So we'll talk about those now. This is where the lobby is located. It has your traditional check-in desk and plenty of places to lounge and sit comfortably if your room isn't ready yet and you want to wait in the lobby for it. This is also where the food court is located. It's called Centertown Market. This is a great spot for quick meals, making it great for families on the move. There is also a convenient grab and go section right as you walk into the food court, which is so nice if you just want to grab something that is pre-made and then get on your way. There are also drinks available in that section as well as ice cream, so it is a good section to know about. There is also a specialty coffee pickup area inside of the food court. The coffees are specialty Joffrey's coffees, and there is a little bit of everything from lattes to espresso to cold brews. So pretty much everything you need to meet your caffeine needs during your trip. This is also where the gift shop is located. It's called Calypso Trading Post, and it has tons of cute Disney merchandise in it, as well as all of the small things you may need if you forgot to pack something like toothpaste, for example. It also has some snacks and some drinks, as well as some fun treats, so it's a great place to check out. Outside of the front doors of the lobby, you will find Bell Services along with the Old Port Royale bus stop. Outside the back doors of the lobby, you will find the marina area, and if you want to, you can book a boat to do a catch and release fishing session. Of course, the fishing excursion does cost extra, but it does leave right from Caribbean Key Island at the resort, so it's super convenient and a fun thing to add on if you like fishing. There is also a pretty lighthouse and a very small putting green over in this section to check out as well. It is finally time for the moment you have all been waiting for. We are finally going to talk about the premier pool at this resort, also known as the feature pool. This pool has great vibes. It has music playing all day, and the cast members are regularly playing games with kids. They're actually playing games right now, so you may be able to hear it in the background a little bit, but overall it's just poppin' and vibin', and it's a great time. I'll be honest, I don't really know how to formally pronounce the main pool. I think it's Fuentes del Morro Pool, but please feel free to correct me in the comments. The theming of this pool is amazing. It is a zero entry pool that is themed like a colonial Spanish fortress. There are 2 water slides. One of them is 82 feet long. You climb a special staircase through the fort's turret to get up there. There are also cannons that spray water. There is also a splash area for little ones that is themed to a shipwreck. There are squirt hoses, a huge bucket that drops water from above, and 3 kid-sized slides. There's even a 12-person jacuzzi spa pool perfect for adults. This is also where Cabana Banana Pool Bar is located, and it's a great place to get a fun, festive drink if you are looking for one. It's important to note though that there is no indoor seating, but luckily the outdoor seating is shaded and there are fans. The food options have gotten significantly better here over the years, and a lot of people say that it's a highlight of their trip when they stay here. There is Caribbean-inspired food pretty much everywhere, but luckily there's also things like, chicken fingers and hamburgers and everything like that for any picky eaters, so there is a good mix. But one place where the food really shines at this resort is at the table service restaurant they have called Sebastian's Bistro. Many people feel this is a highly underrated table service meal. It has a laid-back vibe and a Caribbean twist on the menu. It's a family-style meal, and it is perfect for a relaxing meal. It's also on the cheaper side for a family-style restaurant at Disney, so that's another huge pro as well. We've followed the path of the beautiful boardwalk to get to a special secluded area called Caribbean Key. This area has so many fun things to explore. There is a secluded beach area with 2 hammocks, and it's a great place for some R&R because a lot of people don't realize that this is over here, and it's generally pretty secluded. There are also some really fun play cannons that line the water in this area, so it's really fun for kids to kind of pretend like they're pirates and just have a good time with their imagination over here as well. Right next to the secluded beach area, there is this beautiful lawn area that is filled with chairs for lounging if you would like a place to relax. This is also generally where Disney does Movie Under the Stars. If you don't know what that is, it is really fun, and it's an activity that Disney offers at all of their Walt Disney World resorts. They bring out this big jumbo blow-up screen and they play Disney movies on select nights. So if you are curious on what movies they will be playing and when during your trip, be sure to check the activities calendar. Speaking of resort activities, every single Walt Disney World resort has a list of activities that they do every single week. The activities do differ from week to week and day to day, but an example of something you might find on the activities calendar is something like tie-dye Mickey t-shirts. You do have to pay extra for that one specifically, but usually there are some free options as well as some paid options on there. If you want to know what activities are happening during your stay, then you are going to want to keep your eye out for an activities list. You can find them all throughout Caribbean Beach Resort, and there's always one right outside of the lobby as well. And if for some reason you can't spot one, you can always ask a cast member and they will be able to help you. If you continue moving past the lawn area, you will come to a children's playground area, and this is a great spot for kids to kind of burn some of that extra energy. It is mostly covered and shaded, which is super nice, and it's also on the larger side for a Disney World playground, so it is a really fun place to check out and to enjoy. If you enter the area that is to the left on the boardwalk, you will enter a garden oasis. It is absolutely beautiful. There is tons of lush greenery in this section, and there are several alcoves where you can just sit in shade and relax and take in the tropical vibes. It has stunning views of the water and the Skyliner, so this is a great spot to unwind and relax if you are looking for one on your vacation. This boardwalk bridge is the one that I mentioned earlier that's in between the Aruba and Jamaica section sections of this resort. You just easily cross the bridge and you get to the old Port Royale section of this resort if you're staying in those sections, or if you're kind of making a journey from another section that's super far away and you see the bridge, that is where it will take you. There is also an additional beach area located right by the pool. It is a small beach, but it is still a beautiful option to relax in. You definitely have your pick of beaches at this amazing resort. Welcome to the Barbados section of this resort. Buildings 31, 32, and 33 are located in this section. You will know you have made it to this section when you see the peachy colored buildings with gray roofs. This section has a fantastic location. It is located right across the water from the Jamaica section, meaning it is pretty close to the Caribbean Beach Hub Skyliner station. It's also located in close proximity to Old Port Royale, meaning it is close to the resort's main amenities. The Barbados section also has its own small beach as well as its own bus station, just like every other section of this resort. The Barbados section also has its own leisure pool, just like all of the other sections. Again, nothing too fancy, but is a great spot to cool down. You might have noticed that all of the buildings I have shown you at this resort today are 2 stories tall. And that brings me to my next consideration for this resort. There are no elevators, meaning if you end up in a second floor room and you have a stroller, you are going to have to haul that stroller up and down the stairs every time you leave your room, along with any luggage or anything else that you want in your room for your stay. You can make a room request. They are never guaranteed, but I do recommend doing that if it's important to you. And of course, in the next video, I will go into more detail on all of the things that I recommend you request at this resort to make your vacation as magical as possible. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Welcome to the Trinidad section of this resort. Rooms 34 through 39 are in this section. You will know you have officially made it to this section when you see lightly mauve-colored walls as well as red roofs. I will be honest and say I'm not sure if this is the best color description for this section of the resort, but let me know what you think if you have some better ideas for the colors in the comments below. There is a big surprise in this section because the rooms are completely different. They are lightly themed to the Little Mermaid in this section. Previously, they were themed to pirates, but that recently changed and they are now lightly themed to the Little Mermaid, and that is one reason why people love staying in this section. However, there are many reasons on why people dislike this section of the resort. The biggest reason is that most of the buildings are extremely far away from everything. They are far from the Skyliner, and this whole section is extremely far away from Old Port Royale, where the main feature pool is, along with many of the resort's amenities. Some of the buildings at the front of this section aren't as far away from the Skyliner, which is nice, but again, it's still a little bit of a hike compared to some of the other sections at this resort. The Trinidad section of this resort has its own quick service dining location called Spyglass Grill. And it is really nice that they have their own quick service dining location because it is extremely far from Old Port Royale, where the other dining options are at this resort. For those that don't know what a quick service location is, it is a quick way to get food at Disney, and you don't need a reservation for those locations at all. All you do is go up to the counter, you order your food, you wait for them to hand it to you on a tray, and then you go find an available table, which is super nice. One important thing to note though is that Spyglass Grill is located outside. There is no indoor seating for that dining location. There are fans and it is covered, so that part is nice, but it can be a little bit brutal to eat there during the warmer months, like the summer, for example. There is a leisure pool in the Trinidad section, and it is a little bit larger than some of the other leisure pools we have seen today, so that part is super nice. However, I will say that it does tend to get a little bit more crowded than the other leisure pools at this resort because it is so far away from the feature pool. So a lot of people just do not want to take all of those extra steps to get to the feature pool, and so instead they will go to the leisure pool, and that is why it is pretty much always a little bit more crowded. The Trinidad section also has its own beach. You do have to walk down a couple of stairs to get to it, so definitely important to note that if you do have any sort of mobility issues. The beach size is relatively pretty good compared to some of the other beaches we've seen today, and it's a great spot to get in a hammock and sway your worries away. Because the Trinidad section is so big, there are 2 bus stops located in this section. One is Trinidad North and the other is called Trinidad South. Now that we have seen every section of this resort, I'm sure you would love to see the inside of one of the rooms. So we are going to do a room tour shortly. But before we officially kick off the room tour, I want to talk to you a little bit about the different rooms that are available at this resort. There is, of course, the standard option that has 2 queen beds that sleeps up to 4 adults. There is also a handful of options that have king beds that sleep up to 2 adults. And then there is also a third option. The third option has an optional 5th sleeper. So it has 2 queen beds and then it has a pull-down bed. But that pull-down bed is extremely small, so there is a catch. Only a child can sleep on that 5th sleeper in those rooms. The room we are going to tour is in the Jamaica section, and it does have the optional 5th sleeper, so I will be able to show you exactly what that looks like, and you will see what I'm saying about it being super small. All right, without further ado, let's kick off that room tour. These rooms feel like an oasis, and every detail feels like a tropical vacation. The 5th sleeper room features 2 traditional queen-size beds and a ceiling fan, adding a perfect touch of breezy comfort. There is a cozy spot with a table and 2 chairs. There's also a TV and several drawers that can be used for storage space. 2 tropical-style barn doors lead into the bathroom, adding a fun island touch while also offering extra privacy and space-saving convenience. The bathroom features a double vanity, an open closet space, hangers, an ironing board, and a safe. There's an additional door that separates the bathtub and toilet area, which is an excellent perk for families or groups, making it easier for multiple people to get ready at the same time. There's also a coffee bar and a beverage cooler. The child-size pull-down bed is located under the TV and features adorable artwork of Mickey taking a nap on a hammock next to Pluto. With island vibes and an innovative layout, this room is perfect for families or anyone looking for a relaxing tropical oasis. So as you can see, the rooms at Caribbean Beach Resort are beautiful. They really do transport you to a tropical getaway, and they are very nice. The next thing for us to discuss is an extremely important topic, and that is the transportation options that are available at this resort. The first is the Skyliner, which we have already heavily discussed during today's video. The second form of transportation has to do with Disney buses, and this is where the controversy comes in. Because the Skyliner is located at this resort and the Skyliner can take you to Epcot and to Hollywood Studios, there are no buses that take you to those parks at this resort. You have to take the Skyliner in order to get to those parks. However, if the Skyliner is down for any reason, such as bad weather, if there's lightning in the area or anything like that, or if it's down for maintenance, then Disney will provide backup bus transportation under those conditions. One of the biggest reasons this resort ends up on people's hate list is because it has an internal bus loop system. You might have noticed as we were touring the resort today that there are an insane amount of bus stops located at this resort, which makes sense because it is massive after all. However, the thing that is unique about this is the buses do not go directly to the parks from these bus stations. Instead, the bus takes a grand circle tour of the whole entire resort. It stops at every single bus stop before heading to the parks or to Disney Springs. Here's how the bus loop works. Each section of the resort has its own bus stop. The bus runs clockwise, starting at Martinique, then going around the resort in the following order: Old Port Royale, Barbados, Trinidad North, Trinidad South, Jamaica, and Aruba before heading to the theme parks or Disney Springs. This means you will have a lot of extra time added in on your way to the theme parks or to Disney Springs because you will have to sit and stop at each and every stop along your way before you can head out to the parks or to Disney Springs. On the way back at the end of the night, they do the reverse loop. So pretty much no matter which section you're staying in, you are going to have to sit through an insane amount of bus stops. And this definitely frustrates a lot of people. Because there are so many bus stops, it's also not uncommon for a bus to arrive completely full once it gets to your bus stop, meaning you won't be able to get on the bus and you will have to wait for another bus to come along before you can board it. And that is also something that really frustrates a lot of people. This is extremely common in the morning when everyone is trying to get to the parks for rope drop or for early entry. So I do recommend that you get to the bus stop extremely early if you are trying to do any of those things on your trip, so that you have some contingency time in case you have to wait for multiple buses before you can board. Luckily, it is not as common for buses to be completely full once they get to your stop if you are going to the parks during an off time, such as later in the morning or in the afternoons or evening. So that's definitely a huge benefit. But I will also point out that because this resort is so big and the buses are shared between so many internal stops, that means a lot more people will be waiting for that bus at the end of the night. And the line for this resort is typically extremely long. Luckily, Disney does try to help by bringing more buses more often for Caribbean Beach Resort, but it is a fact that I do have to point out as well. If you are internally or externally spiraling right now, try not to stress too much, because I do have some pro tips for you to help make this situation a little bit better. The first tip I have is if you are trying to get to the parks in time for rope drop or for early entry, I recommend going to the first bus stop. That way you are basically guaranteed a spot on that bus because it is the first bus stop in the internal loop. So definitely consider that if you are trying to do that. My second tip is if you are staying in a section that is close to Disney's Riviera Resort, then definitely consider taking their buses to the park. They only have one bus station and they do not have an internal bus loop situation like they do over here at Caribbean Beach Resort. So it is a much more efficient and fast way to get to the parks or to Disney Springs. That also qualifies for the end of the night as well. You can board a bus to go to Disney's Riviera Resort instead of Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort if you want to, and you may have a better chance at getting back quicker if there is a really long line for the Caribbean Beach station. My third and final pro tip to avoid the dreaded internal bus loop situation here at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort is to consider a paid ride share, especially if you are on a time crunch trying to get to a coveted dining reservation, for example, or anything like that where you feel time pressure and you feel like the buses might not get you there in time. It's definitely worth paying a little bit extra for some peace of mind and having a little bit more direct access. Of course, you can use something like Uber or Lyft, or you could even use Disney's minivan service, which is a fancy way to get around Walt Disney World. Another option is you can also bring your own car, of course, if you're within driving distance, or you can consider a rental car. However, that does add up extremely quickly, so I tend not to recommend that option unless it is the last resort. There is also an internal bus at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, and that is a great option to consider if you need some extra help getting around. However, I do like to joke that it runs on island time because it is a slow way to get around the resort. So I definitely wouldn't use it unless you really need to or unless you have the extra time. It is typically much faster to walk for whatever it's worth. The internal bus does stop at each section of the resort, and it even stops over by the Caribbean Beach Resort Skyliner station as well. It's the only bus that will stop over there. So it is a great option if you have any accessibility issues or you need some extra help getting over there. That is a great option to consider. The internal buses stop at the normal bus stops in each section of the resort. You just have to pay attention to what the bus says on the front. It always tells you what destination it's going to. So it'll tell you what park it's going to. It'll tell you if it's going to Disney Springs, or it will tell you that it is an internal bus. And that's how you will know which bus to get on so you can get to where you need to go. The buses that are internal typically come around every 20 minutes or so. So that's what you can expect in terms of how long to wait for an internal bus to get to your destination. I have to be honest and tell you that Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort is not on my favorites list for resorts at Walt Disney World. It is definitely not my favorite moderate resort here. That is reserved for Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. However, I still think this resort can be great for certain people. If you are looking for a resort with tropical, beachy vibes and beautiful grounds, this is a great option to consider, especially because it is significantly cheaper than Disney's Polynesian Resort, which also has tropical vibes. However, I don't think it's fair to compare the two because Disney's Polynesian Resort is significantly more expensive, and it's also a deluxe resort at Walt Disney World, and this resort is only a moderate resort. However, I did want to mention it because a lot of people do try to compare the two resorts. This resort has so many pros to consider. It has beautiful theming and gorgeous grounds. It's located on Disney's Skyliner. It has a super fun pool. It also has some great dining options, and some sections are even close to Disney's Riviera Resort, which unlocks a whole other section of pros for this resort. My only recommendation is you think through some of the considerations that we talked about in today's video. Think through if the internal bus loop will be a deal breaker for you, and also think about if the size of this resort will be a deal breaker for you and your family or not before committing to it, because those are the most common things that people dislike about this resort. You cannot go wrong with any of the resorts at Walt Disney World. Each of the resorts has their own list of pros and considerations to take into account. And at the end of the day, we all have our own wants and desires for the resort that we are choosing for a specific vacation. And at the end of the day, we'll also probably all have a different list of favorites, and that is totally okay as well. No matter which resort you choose, it will be the perfect place to make magical memories that will last a lifetime, and that is the most important thing. If you have stayed at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, I would love to hear from you. What did you think about your stay? Which section did you stay in? Would you stay there again, or would you choose a different section if you did stay there again? Feel free to drop any advice or wisdom that you gained during your stay below, because it is so fun when we can learn from one another. If you have never stayed at Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, I would also love to hear from you. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns in the comments below, and I will get back to you. I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed today's video, or if you found it helpful, it would mean so much to me if you would consider subscribing, if you would hit that like button, and you would hit that bell notification so you're notified next time I post a magical video. I post exclusively about Disney parks, and more specifically about Disney parks planning content, and I would love to see you here again. A huge heartfelt thank you to all of my patrons, because without them this channel would not exist. If you are interested in considering joining us, then definitely check out the link below. I share a lot of behind the scenes content over there, and we like to have a lot of fun together. Until next time, I'm Kenzie. See you real soon.